Hi, friends. Welcome back to Some Days Here. Today is a really special day because Sean is here with me. And for our first episode together, we want to talk about something that sits underneath every family, every relationship, and every season of change. We are going to talk about the people we've loved, the people we've lost, and the life we're still living because of them.
Hey everyone. Honestly, I'm really excited to be here and even for the conversation that's a little deeper, but that's who we are. And if you're joining for us with us today, I hope it feels like you're sitting right there with us in the room.
That's the goal. We want you to feel like you're part of our family, part of the love, part of the mess, part of the memories, and part of our healing. And today, touch something tender for me. So I thought, why not start with something real? You know, those moments where a memory just kind of taps you on the shoulder, that happened to me the other day. I was thinking about my grandma, and suddenly I felt this huge wave of love and ache all at once. That's the thing about grief. It doesn't follow rules, it just arrives. When that happens, when grief shows up in me, what do you usually notice before I even say anything?
When I see that you have some grief or I suspect it, you usually get quiet. And sometimes you want to spend more time with yourself and do things that provide you comfort,
Mm.
like Netflix and ice cream and chocolate and chips.
Yeah. I hear you on that. And I think for anyone listening, you probably know that feeling too. You're laughing, or you're cooking, or you're scrolling on your phone, and suddenly you're face to face with a memory that shaped you. That's not weakness, that is love still living in you. One of the reasons Sean and I understand each other so deeply is because grief didn't come later in our lives. It came early. Sean lost his dad at 15, and when we were 23, we lost mine. And those experiences, they changed us from the inside out. How do you think losing your dad so young shaped the person you were and the way that you show up to our family now?
I think it meant something different when I was younger. I was 15 when he passed, and I felt like I had to be the man of the house, and um, really wasn't ready for that. And, I grew up like a lot of young boys, showing emotions or crying was a weakness. So I tried to hold it in. I was upset, but I didn't really talk to anybody about it. And unfortunately, it kind of bottled things up. Um, I think I've changed how I deal with grief now and realized that it's therapeutic to talk about it. And it's okay to be upset about your loss, but you're doing yourself a disservice if you're not talking through it or processing it. And you're kind of stuck in different levels of grief then.
Yeah. You know, I saw even when we were young that like you loved differently. I feel like you paid attention differently and you understood what mattered in life. Like I don't think you just left things up for chance. Like I think you knew you needed to honor each memory in life as it came to us with your presence. And I think that was a beautiful gift inadvertently through loss. And when my dad passed at 23, I remember how steady you were. I was almost 9 months pregnant with our second, and you didn't try to fix me. You just stayed close, and you understood that that loss changed me too. And it softened me in some ways, and it hardened me in others. It made me appreciate the small, ordinary moments of life. Do you think those early losses influenced the kind of home we tried to create for our kids?
I think so. I think that it reminds us that, you know, life isn't to be taken for granted, and you're not necessarily given a lot of time here on this earth. And when it comes down to it, it's your family and your friends that really matter, and your time with them. Those are the things that you can't get back and you'd regret. So I think we became more intentional,
Mm-hmm.
especially as a family, and spending time together, whether it's dinner, whether it's going out, and making sure that we're there for each other and having, those deeper conversations.
Yeah, I agree. We wanted a home where people felt loved out loud, where memories were not taken for granted, where time actually mattered, where presence mattered. And that came from grief, but that also came from gratitude. One thing no one tells you, you don't marry one version of a person. You marry every future version, including the ones that are shaped by loss. When you lost your dad, you became someone new. When I lost mine, I became someone new. And even today, thinking about my grandma, I feel like a softer version of myself a lot of times when I go back to that moment. So, what has it been like to love all the different versions of me, especially the ones that grief shaped?
Well, I love every version. Um, and I think it just showed me that you're just a real person and you're authentic, and there's different sides of you, and you aren't just one thing, one personality, one way of doing things. You're complicated, like everybody is, and that includes grief. And to me, it also demonstrated how much you love others. And it's not just your grandma or your dad, but how much you love your family, and the reasons why I love you.
Man, that had me tearing up a little bit. Oh, okay. Um, sorry, needed a moment there. All right. And I've loved all the versions of you too. I am, the strong ones, the quiet ones, the ones of you trying to carry too much, which I think is the one I see the most alone, trying to do it alone, and the ones learning how to open up. And for anyone listening, whether you're partnered or not, I hope you know this. Grief doesn't make you harder to love, grief makes you human. And the right people, they're going to understand that language, and they're going to be there in the quiet seasons too. Whew. Before we, shift into something a little bit lighter, part of today's episode, I wanted to share a few things that have helped me and helped many of the clients that I work with navigate sessions of grief with a little more genuineness or gentleness. Well, I guess both. They aren't fixes because grief isn't something you fix. They're tools that can soften the edges a bit. One thing that helps me is writing a letter to the person that I'm missing. Not a perfect letter. It doesn't have to be long, but just an honest one. It could be thought of you today, missed your smile, or hey, I know in this moment you'd be so proud of me and I wanted to share it with you. Sometimes just putting it into words that like they're right here with you can help. Another one is what we call anchor moments, and that's choosing one ritual a day that kind of grounds you. For me, in the mornings, I have coffee before everybody else wakes up. And in that time, I often will spend the first few minutes just sitting and reflecting, or just sitting and looking out the window and watching the birds or the sun come up. Those are my grounding moments in my day. So having one of those every day helps. And third is really an important one, giving yourself permission to feel. And that's without judgment. Like, you're not allowed to judge yourself. You're not allowed to say, why am I sad? Instead, I want you to like lean into that and say, like, what is this grief? What is this sadness trying to tell me? Because grief is love that just hasn't found its next place yet. sometimes it just needs that room. And Sean, and I know you've talked before about how hard it could be for men to see, to let others see their grief. Do you want to share something that helped you?
Yeah. I mean, you don't need to, guys, I know it can be embarrassing to cry in front of others, but sometimes just allowing yourself to cry, and you can do it on your own. Cry on your pillow or in the car. Seems like the car is where it hits me. So, and just try it. You're going to feel a little bit better doing that. And I think the other thing is talking to others, and Michelle, in this case, it really lightens the load, and it feels like that pressure that you're carrying and that weight, it takes it off a bit, and it's okay to share that burden with others, and it's okay for them to share it with you, and it lightens the load for both of you.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, for working with a lot of men, clients, we have a lot of these conversations. And, I think Sean touched on it earlier. It's like society tells you have to be strong, hold it together, don't cry, like don't burden anyone. And that can keep you stuck for a really long time because you have no outlet to all of those feelings. And I think, letting others in is one of the most beautiful things you could do for yourself and for the other person, because a lot of times as partners, if we're watching our partner grieve silently, we want to be, we want to be let in to help. And so I think that's some great advice. And before, we move on to this next part, if you're listening and you're grieving, whether it's a person, a season, or a version of yourself, I want to offer something to carry with you today. And so it's a kind of a little just saying you could say to yourself, and that is, my grief is not a burden. My feelings are allowed. Love is still moving in me, even on days that it hurts.
I don't have to be strong in silence. I am allowed to be human.
You're doing the best you can in a season no one prepares you for, and that is enough. Before we close, we want to do something simple, something that honors the people who shaped us. So we're each going to take turns sharing one memory of someone we lost that makes us smile, and one memory that feeling brings up. And I can start. So one memory was actually last year this time, when my grandma was in hospice. She was, I was one of her caretakers, and she kept asking to see our dogs, especially our big old golden doodle, Sadie. And so I brought Sadie over to my mom's house where my grandma was for the day, and she was so happy to see her, and Sadie was just as happy to see my grandma. And I took so many cute videos and photos, and it was just such a special moment, and it brought me so much joy and peace to watch her be so happy in those last few weeks. So that's mine.
Yeah, I think the most significant loss I've had was my dad, and I would say one of my most fond memories is the first time he took us fishing, and this is myself, my two brothers, and with old bamboo poles, but we never did it before. And there was a little pond by our house, and I just thought it was the neatest thing, fishing and catching fish and releasing them, and that's like a core memory for me, and it's something that I love to do. And then I brought it to my kids, and every time I go, it reminds me of those moments. So, a lot of special moments with those who've passed.
Sounds like that moment really made you feel connected, and
Yeah.
then that's something you could pass down to the kids.
Definitely.
That's such a beautiful thing, Sean. See, even in grief, there is joy, and they both get to live side by side. So if you're listening right now and someone you love is gone, or life looks different than you expected, or if you're becoming a new version of yourself, You are not alone. You are part of this community now, and all of your feelings are valid.
And you don't need to get over it. You're allowed to carry the people who shaped you. You're a part of this community now. You're allowed to feel the waves, and you are allowed to be human.
Yeah. Thank you so much for sitting with us in this tender place. The loving places, the places where grief and our joy overlap. We hope this made you feel a little more seen, a little more connected, a little less alone.
And we're glad you're here with us.
We'll see you next time on Someday is Here. And if this episode touched your heart, please share it with someone else today.